Hi, um, my name is Stella Nyambura, recording this from Nairobi, Kenya, out in the wild. Not exactly. Um, and I'm a project coordinator for organizations that focus on regenerative agroforestry. I'm also here as a representative of the Mbura Experiment. So this is the series is a debrief after COP27, long after, but still relevant. And I'm here with friends, voices from the global south to give our 2 cents experiencing the COP. This and previous, and as I said, relevant because there's going to be other COPs still. I attended the COP on invitation, presenting on climate justice and solutions for the regeneration of ecosystems, especially for the vulnerable, many of whom lead from our livelihoods. But primarily, the goal should be keeping fossil fuels in the ground, not a transference of the responsibility or the burden to those who are already suffering. I'm part of the Scientist Rebellion and support campaigns to cancel the Global South debt and make the 1% super rich pay for fueling destruction. Um, I'm also doing a postdoctorate where I'm studying the prevalence of um, climate literacy in rural sub-Saharan Africa, from which the Mbura experiment was born. I have found that the factual understanding of climate change is missing within these communities, um, among the most vulnerable. If they knew the suffering wasn't their fault, because many believe it is their fault, that cutting down trees for charcoal or for more land for grazing, that cultivating along on hillside, that their actions have led to the change in climate, um, and not really linking this to fossil fuels. Yes, their actions have led to ecosystem degradation locally, but they're definitely not to blame for the changing climate. The 700 million people in rural sub-Saharan Africa could change the climate justice narrative if they were aware. We cannot expect those that aren't um, shaken by the drought in the Horn or the floods in Pakistan and Nigeria to come to a consensus that favors those that have been affected. This simply cannot happen. In fact, it gives more room for even more injustice to take place through delays. We need the voices um, of those that are bearing the brunt to address the suffering of the most vulnerable to climate change. We need to hear their concerns, their needs, um, to be able to address the injustices. We should empower them enough for them to speak to this thing which they live through. At COP, a solution that I anticipated or hoped for um, from world leaders was consensus on a loss and damage facility. We definitely made headway there. Um, the operationalization of which, you know, is yet to be seen. But what I did not expect was the scheming, the deception. It felt like we had made progress for a moment there, only to find the language on mitigation had been watered down, as though it were there was either loss and damage or mitigation. In the grand scheme of things, it's difficult to see this as a win. Um, it will not be the cops that save people on planet. It will take us, ordinary people, uh, believing in the power we harness when we come together. Also, for me, um, I think any climate action plans that don't take into account or deny the obvious that we've missed the mark, the 1.5 degrees by 2030, um, this is just more of the system heading into the future in the wrong vehicle, wrong speed, lacking sense of urgency and coordination. These lags will not hold off the crisis, and yet all the while using up so much, space, time, effort, resources, our hopes, um, and yeah, for false targets. Um, Meaning, even after all that, we walk into the crisis blind. That's a waste of time. It would take a lot, well, a waste of all those reasons that I just mentioned. It would take a lot to stop this machinery and its shenanigans. Um, and it would seem we're not there yet. We've not reached a critical mass in that move towards, you know, a pathway that saves people and planet. Facing the truth about a situation, it seems scary at first, and I've heard people say, "Oh, hush, you're scaring the kids," and I think not. Um, the kids know what's cutting. This is the life they came into. They grow up with this burden. They want us to fix it, uh, not pretend that it doesn't exist. That doesn't serve them, doesn't serve the most affected. So it doesn't come from a place of concern for them or their futures. Um, so anyway, post COP, I expect that conversations about the energy transition in Africa will continue to be hot topics. Demand is growing twice as fast in Africa as the global average, um, and where 600 million people don't have reliable sources of energy. I just wish it was as easy as just transitioning into renewables, but yeah, this conversation has so many layers to it. I've found it difficult to come to a conclusion that I can stick with. However, whichever the energy mix or resources, we should choose large scale generation projects for both people and planet. Let these be ongoing, even as we explore energy solutions, even as we face systemic collapse, as hinted at by some of the world's top scientists. Um, yeah, so there's hope in regeneration work, creating a lot from a little, which is our current situation, and the degradation of the planet, working with nature. This opportunity, the truest silver lining, holds promise for a future where the planet heals from the destruction we humans have caused. So, well, now I welcome everyone in solidarity work to promote the Mbura Experiment, um, because our main aim is to facilitate the transfer of climate science to rural sub-Saharan Africa, have communities know that their suffering isn't their fault, but is a result of burning fossil fuels. These people, empowered with this information, could change the climate justice narratives if they were made aware. They've been shaken by the drought and the floods, and the temperature increases. We need their voices to be able to offer the right solutions for climate, for energy, even. It is possible that their values are different, and that while they appreciate wealth creation enabled by energy access, maybe it would mean more to them to have healthy soil, healthy food, um, access to land, community. Their values may lean more on the well being of the planet and less on wealth creation as defined in economic systems. We should empower them because many of these decisions, like energy, as discussed earlier, are being made on their behalf by people that know nothing of their suffering or not living it, in their daily lives. So thank you, Soil Not Oil, for this partnership and for promoting our voices.